I've been wanting to make this video for a little while, and today the plot thickened. So I'm just going to get into it. Today I am talking about this documentary, Food Fight Inside the Battle for Market Basket, because it is an excellent tale of resistance. It is an unlikely story, and wow, did something unexpected happen today? So this is from 2014, not the documentary, but the story, and in New England, right? If you are from New England, you know the chain Market Basket. It's a small ish. It's big now. It's a smallish chain. It was started a long, long time ago by a couple from Greece. And they were running just a Demoulas, a local grocery store that they had started, just their one store. And they were doing things that, weren't going to really help their business in terms of kind of giving product away, because they were just good-hearted people who wanted to help their community. Their sons went to college and then took over the business and continued to keep it a family market, but expanded many stores all over New England. So it's a large supermarket chain, but it's not a conglomerate and it's not owned by private equity. And it's beloved. Best prices, good quality food. They have, bakery on site. They have a butcher on site. So there's a lot of great things about this market. I personally drive 25 minutes out of my way to go to Market Basket to do my shopping every single week. So in 2014, there was a battle within, and the couple and their sons took over, and then their kids took over. And that's where things got interesting. Two sons, two separate families. One of the sons died young when the kids were coming to inherit. Some did not want to work in the store. So on one family, there's a cousin named Arthur, and in the other family, there's a cousin named Arthur, and they're both Arthur Demoulas. The hero of the story is RDT, Arthur T. Demoulas. We'll call him RDT because that's what they call him. So he's the one who worked through the store. Like, he started on the floor, and even though he was a Nepo baby, he was a Nepo baby who did the work. He got in there, he learned everything from the ground up, and he became the CEO of the company, and he was beloved because he treated his employees well. They were loyal to him because he knew what the F he was talking about. He walked the talk. He did the work, and they knew him because they worked alongside him. A lot of people who work for this company stay there for a very long time because Artie T had a mission to treat his employees very well. They have a very loyal customer base and a very loyal employee base. So the cousins got into it, and this is in 2014, and they wanted to oust RDT. They were ready to sell. They did not want to work this business, but RDT wanted to keep it. And honestly, to sell this business would be to lose it. It would not be Market Basket anymore. It would have the name, but it wouldn't be the same place. And everybody knew it. So what happened next was the fascinating thing of the summer of 2014 in New England. I live in Massachusetts, and I was glued to this story, working for a terrible boss at the time and just like looking at what was happening and enjoying it. So what happened was this. The people inside the company said, no way, you're not getting, they put him on administrative leave. They ousted RDT. They said, bye, you're out. And the people were not having it. They were not having it. Now, there is no union. But what happened was the workers organized. They organized, and they did the biggest non-union employee resistance exercise in the United States in modern history. And they were brilliant with no notice and just time to organize about the way they went about it. And this gives us some clues for what we're doing right now. So one of the things that they did was they dismantled the infrastructure. They knew that they had to keep things working on the surface. So the stores stayed open. If employees wanted to walk out on the store side, obviously they had their prerogative to do that. But the people knew that those were the folks that needed to keep working, right? So the walkouts, the big walkouts were on distribution and store support, aka corporate. They walked out, and to watch this documentary and listen to these people talk and say, as an older guy, like, I have had time, I have saved up, my kids are done going to college, I'm going to let the younger guys who can't afford to walk out, they stay, we'll take this. Now remember, they're not angling for a contract. They're not angling for better pay for themselves. They're not angling for better benefits for themselves. They want to keep Arthur T, RDT, as their CEO because they know that he's the one running the culture of the company that makes them love working there. Even though their individual paycheck was probably not going to be affected, at least in the short term, or even in, the slightly long term. Overall, their job was never going to be the same. It was all for the common good. So the corporate and the distribution people walked out. So that left the stores with very little support. The vendors were in on it because a lot of the vendors are, again, local distributors, smaller businesses that have local distribution. Part of the beauty of Market Basket, they do business locally. So the vendors engaged in some malicious compliance. They slowed things down. They brought in the product, but maybe they only sent in one person to unload things, which really gummed up the works. And one thing that Market Basket shoppers know is that one of the ways they keep their prices low is they don't stock at night. So there's always people stocking shelves, and those aisles get very crowded. So that was a really good thing for them to do, to sort of disrupt the work. Now, the corporate headquarters in Tewksbury, Massachusetts, across the street was a vacant commercial building. And the owner of that building was sympathetic to the workers. So he gave them their parking lot so they could station themselves there. They were there with their little umbrella things and out there with their signs and yelling if anybody came into the corporate office, harassing the scabs for crossing the picket line, doing the thing you do. Remember, they're picketing for RDT to be their CEO. That's what they're doing this for. So the customers engaged in a full-on boycott. They would come to the parking lots when there were standouts holding signs, rallying for RDT. And they would bring their receipts. They had to go grocery shopping somewhere else. So they'd take the receipt from the other store and tape it to the window of the store that they would have shopped in, just to show all the money that they would have been losing. On the store side, the product was running out on the shelves, right? The shelves were getting bare, and the people in corporate who they were not wanting to listen to were telling them to order, and so they didn't, and then they finally, they had to follow. The people on the outside were saying, no, follow their directions, do what they say to do. So they made the order, but then the people on the outside got the people who are still in distribution to do, like, they take a refrigerator truck, which is extremely expensive to run, right? They put like a pallet of boxed pasta, like dried pasta, on that refrigerator truck and have it go like on the most absurd route through to get to the store. And they'd get there to unload, and it was just this one pallet, and it was crazy and hilarious, and they just gummed it all up. And then within the store, the people would set up the display. So you know how like they have like all the cases of soda like stacked up? Well, they would make a design out of them that RDT is always the CEO, and just all of these little multi-pronged ways of irritating the people in charge and hurting the business to get their point across. So this went on across 71 stores across New England, and they affected the business. 6 weeks, and 70% drop in sales. And in the end, they had to capitulate. The business was sold to RDT for $1.6 billion, I believe.